Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to the School of Love, the place where we learn practical tools based on scientific research and our own experience towards improving ourselves, living life to its fullest, and contributing to the best of our abilities to the world around us. I am Dr. Grajdian, and I am a professor of media studies and anthropology at Hiroshima University. In my free time, I am doing my best to guide you in building up a life of contentment, joy, and fulfillment while applying lessons learned in school to overcome the difficulties, challenges, and insecurities of the real world. In today's video, I talk about self-sabotage when you are doing it. I include this topic in the series Things I Wish I Knew When I Was Younger, which contains small videos on precisely that. Very practical tips, tools, and tactics which would have helped me tremendously when I was younger than today and much less experienced. These are ideas which I wish someone more mature than myself would have told me, not even explained to me, just told me that they exist so that I become aware of a different way of looking at the world. We all know those people, those persons who eternally seem to get in their own way and hurt themselves in a manner which their worst enemies would fail to. Actually, they self-sabotage. But what if you are the one who self-sabotages? In this video, I start with a definition of self-sabotage and some of its causes, and then deliver a 5-step protocol which helps you learn to deal with self-sabotage in yourself, and hopefully in time to heal at least partially, so that by the end of this video, you will have a complete protocol for dealing with self-sabotage in yourself, if you choose to do so. It has helped me, although it took years to improve, and I still catch myself self-sabotaging, but at least I recognize it in myself and I am able to deal with it. And now, first things first, that is 2 important disclaimers. The first disclaimer serves to strongly emphasize the fact that this YouTube channel, The School of Love, is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy, and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as motivation and inspiration outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. Together, we can build up a better tomorrow for as many of us as possible. The second disclaimer relates to the fact that I'm a trained musician and musicologist, not a psychologist, therapist, or counselor. The ideas I'm sharing in my videos reflect my deep-going preoccupation with life, my own life and other people's lives, and expresses the results of my experiences, research, and for better or for worse, my failures, as well as my recovery from those failures, recovery which is continuously ongoing. The idea expressed in the videos on this channel named The School of Love cannot and may not and must not replace the consultation with specialists in whichever areas of your life you might have questions or you might struggle with. If you are new to this channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very much. This helps us not only with that mysterious algorithm which seems to dominate the YouTube galaxy, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. And now back to today's topic, which is self-sabotage and self-sabotage in yourself. So when you are doing the self-sabotaging, this is a very, again, a complex topic, and I won't get too much into the details of why it's happening and all the intricacies, the psychological intricacies of it. I have a different video on self-sabotage when other people are doing it and you're witnessing it and how to deal with it. And so in today's video, I will start with a definition with science to recognize when you are in yourself and you are self-sabotaging yourself, and then with some reasons of why this is happening. And then I'll deliver 5 steps, five simple steps on how to learn to deal with it. It's not so much about healing it. I think, from my perspective nowadays, is that healing is actually overrated. Um, there are things in life or in human psyche, in human existence, which once broken, they cannot be repaired again as if they have never been broken. And the strategy, at least in my perspective, a healthier strategy, a better strategy, a more sustainable strategy is actually to find ways to live with it and do the best out of it. It's like when we have a tooth and it breaks, it has a hole. It's actually impossible, at least with the technologies we have nowadays, to make it new again, whole again. So the dentistry nowadays can help us with living with it and making it look as if it was never broken, but it is actually not the initial, the completely new, completely healthy tooth. And the same goes for many dimensions of our psyche, of our emotional and mental inner space. Well, if they weren't built up properly in our childhood, and if they got broken somewhere around, somewhere underway in our development towards who each of us is today, so my experience shows that it's not about healing. It's about learning how to deal with those problematic issues inside oneself. So this video again doesn't promote so much, or this type of videos it doesn't promote healing. It promotes more learn how to deal with it, and maybe in time what seems impossible nowadays, or what seems very bad nowadays, will seem much easier to be done. It's like someone maybe who has a leg amputated. You cannot get, you can get a replacement, a technologically enhanced replacement, but you won't get the same leg again. So you have to learn to live with it. The same goes for all these complicated mechanisms within ourselves, in our psyche, in our emotional and mental outfit framework. And it's not so much about repairing them, it's about learning how to deal with them in a healthy manner. So what is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is when we do things which are against our best interest, or against our interest altogether. It doesn't have to be the best interest. And how to see it is, for instance, you have a deadline and you procrastinate. It's not only that you do not respect the deadline, that's a sure sign of self-sabotage. When you know you have to do something, your conscious mind knows you have to do something and you don't do it. You know when you promise something and you don't do it. When you lie, that's clear sign of self-sabotage. Lying, anybody who is over the age of 10 knows that lying always is revealed, and it's very embarrassing, both for the person who has lied and for the person who has found out that you are lying, that the person is lying. Yeah. So anybody over the age of 10 knows this, and still people lie continuously, all the time, under all sorts of circumstances, to everyone. And there are small lies which don't really matter, but there are the big ones which actually really matter. And so this is about self-sabotage. It's because I'm assuming you're a good person and you want to become better. And self-sabotage is about anything you do against your own interest, like lying. Lying, for instance, destroys trust, or does not allow trust to be built in the first place. So this is self-sabotage, and this is also the signs how you recognize it. And where it comes from, usually, again, it comes from childhood. Parents who told us you're good for nothing, you're lazy, you're stupid, you're ugly, it's a pain that you are born, and so on. So, and children internalize all these messages. They cannot filter them. What parents or caregivers tell children is the absolute truth. They take it as it comes. I know people who call their children dictators. I know people who call their children all sorts of negative things, and children don't know that it's negative. They say, well, if they say so, if they call me my name, this means this is who I am, and then later on they learn what those words mean. For instance, terrorists, or there are people who call their own children dictators or terrorists, and because they have some troubles dealing with their own children. And then children grow up and learn what a dictator or what a terrorist is, and they internalize that truth. They internalize that as a truth, and then of course they will self-sabotage later on. And how to deal with it, how to deal with it. The first step, as always, and this is part of what I have been talking about so far, is awareness, and more importantly, self-awareness. So knowing that you are self-sabotaging, and this is actually quite easy, asking yourself, why am I not keeping the deadlines? Why am I lying? Why am I postponing things which I know I have to do? Why am I not doing the things I'm supposed to do? Why am I living such an unhealthy lifestyle when I know I should actually living more healthily, because this is killing me? Why am I dating why am I dating crazy people, of which I know they are crazy, but still I feel attracted to them? So become aware, asking yourself questions like why, and so on. You don't even have to have the answers. You only have to become aware that you are doing it. And once you become aware that you are doing it, just sit with that truth. You don't need to know why. You need to know, I'm doing it. And once you know this, then you can move on to the next step, which is correlated to the third step. So second step is identify the trigger. Why are you sabotaging yourself? Why don't you keep the deadline? Maybe, why don't you speak the truth? Why don't you stand up for yourself? Why do you allow people to step all over you? There is a trigger. The people step all over you, you allow it. That's self-sabotage. Someone tells you, makes you a compliment, and you say, no, that's very cheap. That's self-sabotage. Someone invites you out to a coffee. Maybe they say, I'm busy, even though you are not. Or maybe you're busy, but you don't say, yes, let's, but some other time, because no, I'm busy. This is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is when, without any obvious reasons, you just don't do things which are in your interest or in your best interest. So, and you identify what makes you act against or act against your interest, against your best interest. Once you know the trigger, and there are triggers, you will have to deal with the payoff or reward of self-sabotaging. And this is a painful one, because it comes usually from a deep-seated need for validation of some old messages which have been told you by those who are actually supposed to love and protect you. If, let's say, you are sabotaging yourself by being lazy, the reward, the payoff you're getting from being lazy, from not fulfilling your duties at work or at home, is because someone back then told you you're lazy, and you have internalized that message as lazy being part of who you are. And now you are being lazy. You have become lazy because someone has told you this, someone you trusted, someone you loved, someone who was your entire world, and who actually was supposed to protect and love you and help you become a good person. You have internalized that message. And now you're acting upon that message. Every time you are lazy, or you are perceived by others as lazy, you become that validation that you are who those persons saw you as being, and who obviously, probably, they wanted you to be. or at least they made you believe that this is what they wanted you to be. So self-sabotage usually always happens when it actually, self-sabotage leads to failure. And it is that failure that our subconscious looks for as a form of validation of the messages we have gotten when we are young from people who are our entire world, parents, caregivers, and who instilled in us that belief that we are the way they described us. And then later on, we reinforce that belief we had internalized back then. Yeah, that the reward is they are right. The validation we receive from them being right. This is a very bitter one to swallow. That's why people don't change. But if you want to change your life, learning how to recognize and dealing with self-sabotage is one of the most important starting points. And number 4 is to learn to deal with the triggers. So every time you have, for instance, a deadline, or you have a project you have to fulfill, or you have your part in a project and you have to fulfill, let's take as example the example of laziness. Then instead of postponing it, you have this habit of not fulfilling your tasks, of postponing, of procrastinating, and of being lazy, essentially, and self-sabotaging. You know this. You know it is always triggered by new tasks, let's say. Then you create an accountability system in which every time you feel the trigger, the tendency, the urge to not to do things which you were supposed to do, you talk to someone and then you do it. There's so many, like you can find on the internet so many ways of avoiding procrastination, like the 3 seconds rule, the 10 minutes rule, the 15 minutes rule. This all doesn't work if you do not learn to react to the trigger in a manner in which you allow to bypass the subconscious resistance to doing what you have to do. And the way I did it when I used to self-sabotage myself, I was a Jedi master of self-sabotage. The way I learned to deal with it was when I feel like not doing what I have to do, I just talk to someone I trust, and they help me do it. They help me not do it, but they help me start it, one step at a time. And if you do it consequently, after a while you learn, you will start doing things you don't want to do, because you receive, and this is number 4, the other side of this reward is you receive the positive validation and the positive reinforcement, which replaces the lack of positive reinforcement of the negative messages which you used to receive back then. So essentially, asking someone for help. No, I know I'm self-sabotaging, and I know it is triggered by any new task. I feel frightened, but this fear is irrational because I'm very good at it. Help me start it. A good friend, maybe a therapist, maybe a colleague, they will help you start. They will help you start and move as much forward so that you can actually move from that point on. You can do it yourself, and in time you will be able to start doing it by yourself, so without an accountability body, so to say. And this will give you also the reward that they give you the reinforcement you need instead of the old voices in your subconscious. So on one hand, plan a different reaction to your trigger, and plan a different way of dealing with the lack of reward, which comes from not reacting to the trigger in the same old ways. The final step in this process is actually one nobody really talks about, is about develop gratitude towards this habit of self-sabotaging yourself, because it was that habit which allowed you later on to become a better person. So, and why it is important? It's important because at the beginning of any change, at the beginning of any process of change, There will be relapses. There will be setbacks. There will be failures, mini failures or bigger failures. And gratitude is what keeps us ongoing. Gratitude is that phenomenon, is that emotion or mindset, is that mindset which helps us focus on the little steps and express gratitude, express this feeling of thank you for being there for each steps along the way. Instead of the big focus, the big goal is important as well, but if we focus too much on the goal, then we lose sight of the small steps in between and we give up. So develop gratitude, develop this mindset of it had its role in my life and it made me who I am today, and for this one I am grateful. So I hope this helps. I hope I delivered some necessary and helpful insights into how to deal with self-sabotage when you are self-sabotaging. Thank you for listening, and as always, I'm looking forward to welcoming you very soon here again. Love and peace to you all.